Yeah, we still are focused much more on success rate than anything else. And the picture is not really clear yet in terms of where we are. We need SEC competition to really get into, what our success rate is in terms of the competition. So I think that's TBD for us right now. But our focus will be on success rate, third down percentages, and picking up them as well as yards per carry per attempt. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I think it's probably too early to make those decisions. Getting Emery back, a back of his caliber, I think helps in that assessment as well. So I want to answer your question. I think it's a little early for us to
You spoke at length about this after the game with Charles Turner starting at center, and then you had moved Miles Frazier over to right tackle. Is that the same lineup you're going to come out with this week on the offensive line? And is it early enough in the season that you feel comfortable to just kind of change things up a little bit?
We were pleased with that starting five. I think you can expect to see that moving forward. I think there's some guys that I think distinguished themselves. The true freshman Emery Jones played well. I think you'll see more of him in the rotation. But I feel pretty confident to tell you here today that the way it graded out was what we were hoping for, and there's still going to be a need to rotate guys in. Cam Wire's still going to have to play for us. Tremont Short's still going to have to play for us. There's still going to have to be rotations within this group. It's not five for the whole game, but I just think you add Emery now. He did some really good things on Saturday.
Hey, Coach. Glenn West with Go247. A little bit of a two-parter for you. Just, do you guys expect to have Seven Banks available this weekend? And then also, just this is a big test for the cornerback and secondary group as a whole. Just what do you hope to see from that group this weekend?
Yeah, good question on Seven. Seven is close to being ready. We wanted to make sure that, look, I mean, he wanted to play in the opener, but our medical team wanted to make sure that he was 100%. He was probably 90%, and there was really no need. We feel like we're in pretty good shape. This is a game where, all hands on deck at that position. So the expectation is right now that he's going to be dressed out, and we're going to know here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, how that eventually puts him in the rotation. So you're right on. He's at the cusp of playing, and we'll see how we practice this week.
Hey, Coach, when you face a team like Mississippi State and they have so many curveballs, does that sort of make you have to sort of adjust the way you practice this week? Are there any sort of adjustments made on that end, or is it just try to practice more normally and make the adjustments just more schematically instead of actual game day practice?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think perceptually that people think that there's a lot of curveballs, but this is dive, QB keep, or pitch. There's maybe 4, 5, 6 concepts that are run so well and so efficiently that if you get too cute on defense, that's where you get exposed. Or you try to do one thing to take it away. If you play too much man, if you play too much three-man rush, if you try to be one-dimensional defensively, that's where you get in trouble. So this is really about trying to change up your looks, try to make it so they don't see the same thing every time. But they're going to run what they run, and they just run it better than you can defend it in 3 days of preparation. And again, I go back to that. I know you're going to get sick of the triple option analogy, but it's so true in that this is the air raid concept. They run it better than you can defend it in 3 days. So you better tackle. You better have a really good plan on some of the things that they really like to do, or you're going to get exposed.
What is your assessment of how the coaches and players communicated with each other after their first game to make the corrections and the adjustments and the personnel changes that went into this second game plan? Where are you seeing that?
That's a really good question. A game like Southern where it's 51 to nothing at half, those are nightmares for me because, you're down to, you're playing as many guys as possible and you're always looking out on the field doing this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, we got 11. Because you've got new guys going in and out of the game. We did not have any substitution errors, and I was really happy with the discipline that our guys showed. And, actually in Florida State, we had a couple of guys tap out of special teams without communicating, which is totally unacceptable. So, we had addressed that in week one, and it carried over. So, communication is much better. We got to clean up a couple of things on the sideline in terms of guys getting down and sitting down. They were watching the game a little bit too much. But I think we're getting better to where I want to be a little bit more disciplined on the sideline. But it was really good for where we were in that game.
Coach in the middle. Gregory Clayton got a shot at punt returner.
Yep.
Would you maybe just kind of share a little bit of his story and how he came here, the relationship there, and is that the plan moving forward with him returning punts?
Well, obviously, Frank Wilson had a lot to do with that, and it was a UTSA transfer, from Louisiana, obviously, and here's a young man that, obviously we had a sense that he's a guy that could really come in here and have a chance to earn a scholarship, and he finds himself in week 2 returning punts. He's a pretty good receiver as well, so. We knew we had a really good player coming in, but he's entering into a field of wide receivers where there's great depth. We saw that, right, the other night. But again, I think another young man from the state of Louisiana that, we've seen a lot of this. We're going to play against one. There's so many really good players in this state. I'm just glad we were aware of him as a transfer and that he's able to help our program.
Hey, Coach, Chase Luzerne from Gridiron Football. I know Ali Gay and B. Joe Jawari were absent in last week's game, but it allows you an opportunity to see Savion Jones, Desmond Little, and even put Harold Perkins a lot in that role. What is your evaluation on how those guys played?
Savion was what he's been. I think I talked about this after the game. Consistent. He is really from a job assignment as good as we have, doing his job, play in and play out. Des hadn't played a lot, so it was good to get him out there. There's things that he's got to clean up in his game, but he's active, he's athletic, and gives us that piece. And look, you're looking to develop guys that haven't played a lot of football. He hasn't played a lot of football, so it was good to get him out there. And Harold Perkins, was playing in our nickel package, and quite frankly, didn't have much time to get ready for that role. But he's such a great kid, accepted it, and used his athleticism to really help us when we were pinched for personnel at that position.
Down here to the left. Brian Holland with NBC 33 and Fox 44. Excuse me. If you found something with tempo at the end of Florida State, and then Mississippi State is obviously challenging because they're making you play complementary football in the second half. One, is that just a second half call as far as slowing things down? And two, from experience, how do you kind of balance that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think tactically you have to look at, efficiency over anything else. So if we're efficient on offense, we're fine playing with tempo. If we're not, it's really immaterial, because if you're not efficient in what you do, you're giving them easy possession. So we have to look at our efficiency on offense, and I think it's not just tempo; it's everything that we do. And you'll see a blend again. You're not just going to see a hurry-up offense go out there. You're going to see tempo. You'll see us move the tight end around, change formations, do some things like that. But it'll be a blend with an eye towards being efficient offensively. And when I say efficient, obviously, holding on the football and cashing those in. We talked about the 8 drives that Daniels has had, his 8 consecutive drives. If we can get near that, we'll be in pretty good shape.
Michael Baskerville said after the game he was originally going to have to miss the first 2 games, and then he got cleared like the Thursday before Florida State. How did that affect the way y'all were preparing for the season? And then now that you're past that 2-game mark, what's his role going to kind of look like moving forward?
Well, we appealed that suspension, and as you know, he was cleared to play. So, we got him actively involved right away. And he was a guy also that, like John, we kept with us, hoping that we would get good news and that we would be able to play him. So we kept him active with us, and he's got a unique skill set. He is really good in pass coverage. He's really smart. That doesn't mean he can't stop the run. He's not built to be a big-time plugger, but he'll stick his nose in there. He's not afraid. We saw that. His block punt was like teach tape. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, he bent, put the low hand out, took the ball off the foot of the punter. Some younger players would have run into the punter in that situation. So he's a smart, savvy football player and makes us better when he's on the field.
Hey, Brian. Sheldon Mickles, the Advocate. I know Saturday night was a small sample size, but how has your secondary, the assessment of your secondary gone into this big challenge Saturday night?
I think the corners have held up pretty well. Their play has been consistent. It's been on body. They've played the ball well in the air. I thought our tackling got better. Greg Brooks playing back at the safety position has enhanced our communication to the level that we felt really good about it. Putting Ward down, in a natural nickel position fits his game as well. So I just think the pieces were moved in the right place after that evaluation of Florida State and where we felt like we needed to get better. So communication on the back end was much better. The corner play continues to be solid, but they'll be challenged at a higher level certainly this Saturday. Great, thank you. $10 is here. We're up to $60. We're getting there. This is going to be big. Yeah. I trust everybody in this room.